Hello and welcome to This Week in Property. I'm your host Richard Swan, and in today's show we've got the big light back on, the big Property Pros Spotlight, bringing someone in under a spotlight to chat about things, chat about life inside property. What are they up to? What are they seeing? What's their experiences, their opinions? How are things going? And the gentleman we have today, sitting to my left, is Paddy McKay. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show.
Hi Richard, thanks for having me, good to be here.
You ready for us?
Yes.
Yes, we're not nervous, we're all good.
All good, thank
We're
you.
all good. Now, we know each other already. I always like to tell folks this and be up front, so full disclosure, already know Paddy. That's because he's been through Paul McFadden's Property Protégé programme, so I know about him there. And that's where I see how things are going for you. You're always good at giving me updates. Encouraging other people, answering questions. You know, there's that whole tribe that we know about, that community spirit, just helping other folks in the game, and you're someone you're further ahead than quite a few people, but you're always there to lend a hand, always there to answer a wee question or give a wee photograph about things that are going on. And that's why I want you in this spotlight, just to chat about things. And it's the good and the bad. We'll go everywhere because we know what it's like.
Yeah.
It's like a goddamn roller coaster, this thing, which is good fun. But what was life like before that? This is always good to start with, because folk who are listening in or watching in, they're thinking for their own perspective, you know, I don't know if I can do this, you know. I mean, maybe that's for guys who are already estate agents or they're already builders, all this kind of stuff. You know, they've got these preconceptions. But you don't have to have that. You don't have to be full-time. You don't have to be full focus, etc. It's always good to have these experiences for other people, you know, real lives, if you like. And you're already doing that by finding a balance with a busy home life as well and a busy work life. So yeah. Can you chat to that, but chat to what was life like before you even had an interest in this property stuff? Where were you?
Yeah, so sort of born and raised in Glasgow. You know, sort of never came from money. You know, my parents had sort of working sort of class jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I was the youngest of a family of four, so
right.
You know,
Oh, you're
up,
the baby.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
The spoiled child.
Definitely, yeah. So,
that's what I like to tell my brother.
Yeah, I'd like to think so, but yeah, I mean the golden child. But yeah, I mean I sort of grew up. You know, always out playing football. You know,
right.
that sort of stuff. But I don't know. When I was younger, I was always sort of quite. I wanted to be like a sort of inventor. I was always quite passionate. Just always sort of, you know, always had, you know, at a young age you want to be a sort of, you know, a police officer or a fireman, that type of thing.
The astronaut, the fireman.
Yeah, absolutely. My cousin's husband, he was in the RAF, so I kind of wanted to be in the RAF from a young age. But yeah, as I sort of grew up, so I went to school. I said I was, you know, relatively intelligent, but I was always quite keen to leave, like sort of high school and just get working. Yeah, I've always been quite a hard worker. You know, always been quite sort of determined to just, you know, get out there and, you know, put in the effort and sort of learn as much as I can and then sort of move on to the next level.
Where does that come from? Do you get that for your parents? Is that for your other siblings?
Probably my parents, yeah. I think my mum always said to me, you know, sort of apply for an apprenticeship, you know,
learn a skill.
Yeah, get a trade behind you, and then you know you've got something to fall back on, and then from there, you know, you can sort of go and do whatever you like, type of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, I had, you know, okay exam results. You know, I wasn't the best, wasn't the worst.
Kind of middle of the road.
Could have done better, I think, if I sort of tried a bit harder, I'd say. But at that age, you maybe don't appreciate how important it is.
No.
You know, so but it's not the most important thing in the world if you've got, you know, a plan and you know there is other routes you can go down, as we sort of know, property being sort of one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I got an apprenticeship. It was a 3-year apprenticeship. It was a mechanical engineer. And from there, you know, the business sent me to college. And again, when I finished that, I've always wanted more. I've always been ambitious. So I then applied to sort of go back to college and then go into university. So done a degree at uni. I went back and done some sort of part of a master's degree just to meet the requirements of chartership. But again, that was just me always. It wasn't really a plan. It was just as things developed and you sort of see the more opportunities and, you know.
So just kind of one step at a time.
Exactly,
I've got this I can go for now, and then okay.
Definitely. I mean, I had never thought about going to uni type of thing. It was just I thought I'll do an apprenticeship. I'll see where that takes me. You know, I think a lot of folk ended up working offshore offshore oil and gas.
Okay, follow the money that way.
Exactly. I kind of thought that's where I would end up. I would do my apprenticeship, get a few years experience, and then maybe go offshore and work.
Right.
But it just never developed that way. I just, every couple of years I would move job within the work, I sort of...
Right, okay.
I like to learn, and then I get to a level where I'm sort of ready to move on, to the next level. So yeah, I always applied, always want to, create a better life for I've got kids, so I always want to, create a good life for them. As I say, I never grew up sort of with money. I used to wear my big brother's old clothes when I was really young, that type of thing. But I had a good childhood, a lot of happy memories, of course. But I just, within my sort of work career, I went on and, from working, on the shop floor, overall was getting dirty, enjoyed it, it was worked with a lot of good people, had some good banter, that type of thing. But I was always wanting a bit more. Got a job in an office, so I doing the more design side of things.
Okay. So the same firm and the same services,
company,
but you're moving yourself about.
Just applying for positions
within
the company. I was just trying to progress. So I sort of got to a level where I just felt I was getting held back a little bit. I was applying for higher positions, and I was coming up with a few obstacles and a few barriers, and I looked at some of the folks working beside me, and they'd been sort of fighting for a pay rise for 10, 15 years, and I just thought, that won't be me. I won't be just sitting here accepting it. I'll go and create my own life type of thing. So I left that company, joined a consultancy, and then I became a limited company contractor. So sort of still a consultant, but working for myself, working on contracts all over the UK.
How did you find that transition? Going from that, employee world, and then, getting out there on your own, trying to be that service, that consultant. How did you find that?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I think having worked for a consultancy for a year sort of broke me in a little bit to then being out on my own. And I've always wanted to be a business owner. So,
have you?
Oh yeah, always. Yeah. So I sort of seen that as a sort of stepping stone. I'm still a limited company. Still had to have an accountant tick all the boxes, but I'm still out there, working for clients. So I've always been professional. Always had integrity. So was always the client's king. I was wanting to provide a good service for them. Every contract I've worked on, they've always said, they'd be happy to get me back for the next contract. Never burn your bridges. Always sort of leave the door open to go back, type of thing. So I started having to travel though quite a lot. So initially was working in the Lake District, and sort of 3.5 hours journey each way. I was staying away a few nights. Yeah, and then I was in the Midlands after that for a while. I was sort of 6 hours in the car on a Sunday. Same again on a Thursday night back home. So I sort of worked a 4-day week for maybe 4 or 5 years. And then I missed part of my son growing up, but part of doing it was to provide a better life for him. So I wanted to give him the life I never had. And I guess the standard of living has went up now. Most kids tend to be spoiled in comparison to when I grew up, type of thing. But, it can be a good thing. But I just wanted to give him a better life. So I didn't have to make some sacrifices. I was staying away, I was on my own. But I was living in sort of like HMOs, serviced accommodations, which at the time I never knew what they were. But now I can look back. So sort of link the two together. But so I think that's where my sort of property journey sort of started as well. So I was doing a lot of travelling, doing long hours in the office. When I came out of the office, I was never one to really sit and watch TV. I would be at the gym, or I'd be at the pub the odd night as well. Get to know your sort of co-workers and stuff. But I started to then have excess money. So I built up. First I was with a consultancy, so they were, paying for your accommodation and your travel expenses, so you weren't spending a lot of your own money. And then when I became sort of self-employed as a contractor, because I was travelling, there's times where you might not have a contract, so you sort of want to save up some money.
That mindset, wee safety net behind you and stuff.
That's it, So you tend to sort of tighten your belt a little bit. You work hard, and you tighten your belt a little bit, and you just, hope everything sort of works out okay. So, but I did start to build up some excess money. You know, I've always sort of been aware of, you know, passive income and, you know, investments, and you know, you sort of want your money to make you money. You don't always want to work for money. So
true.
That's when I started looking at different types of investments. So I sort of put some money into like the stock market, you know, funds
did you?
And shares.
Right, okay.
I came across a few like crowdfunding platforms where you could lend money to small businesses, you know. So maybe a cafe that wanted to open a second cafe and they were just looking for private investment, and you know, so investors could, you know, lend from, you know, as little as £1,000 to whatever, to help them expand. So I'd done a couple of them as well, and then I came across similar thing in property. So it was like shared equity properties in London. So it was more sort of crowdfunding where a number of investors purchase a property, you rent it out, you receive a portion of the rent, you benefit from capital gains. So that's where I first sort of came across property, you know. So that was where I was a busy professional. You know, I had no time or knowledge, so I was happy just, you know, lending my money to other property companies to make me money. And you know, it's funny because that's sort of what I do now.
This is it's so crucial to know what you provide for other people. It's amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's good.
But that's your whole life, is it?
Yeah,
I'll try this next. Right, I'm going to try this next, and then that leads to something else,
Yeah.
But carry on.
No, that's it. I mean, you're right. It's you know, the opportunities happen when you go out and look for them. You know, they are out there in abundance, and you know, you need to just go and look for them. And you go down a path, and you will venture down other avenues, but you would never come across the opportunities if you never sort of put yourself out there and you know, explored and done your research and you know, networked and that sort of thing. So I mean, so that's sort of where it sort of began, and it's good that I've sat on that side of the fence.
Definitely.
You know, we understand, you know, the clients and the investors and how to sort of handle them. So so that's where it started. But you know, after that, I thought, right, I want, you know, a bigger slice of the pie type of thing. You know,
you got the taste for it.
Definitely, yeah. I get quite, you know, impatient, you know, with my actions, and you know, I'm always keen to be doing something. I don't, you know, I do have rest days and down days. You need them, but I'm always keen to get going. So I almost bought, you know, like a new build buy-to-let apartment in Glasgow.
Is that right?
Kind of glad I never know. Now I know a lot more about property. You know, I mean, it can be a good investment for some people. It's part of a, you know, a varied portfolio. But for me, I'm sort of glad I never went down that route initially. And then I came across sort of Paul McFadden online.
Right, what we were mentioning earlier. Right, okay.
Yeah.
That was the next part, right?
And actually, it was my brother sort of is sort of been into property for a few years as well. And
brilliant.
It was actually him that mentioned Paul. I think he'd seen some Paul stuff as well.
And is your brother similar with some kind of employment, career, business and properties a side thing?
Yeah,
is it the same
absolutely,
thing? Right?
Yeah, sort of same idea. We actually both started an apprenticeship at the same time.
Right.
We both worked for the same company.
Oh, no way.
We both sort of then got jobs in the office at the same time. So yeah, we have sort of had a similar sort of path. He's a couple of years older, and then he again, you know, I think when you look at a lot of sort of wealthy people, they all sort of own property, you know, and I think it's well known that property can create wealth.
Yeah.
You know, even you know, back to when I first started working, I worked with some of my colleagues owned, you know, various properties
right, okay.
that they rented out.
So you're always hearing those stories.
Yeah, I always sort of heard about property, and again, when I worked down south, a few folks down there were really keen to get into it, and you know, you sort of do, it pops up all the time, and you think, right, I need to look into this, I need to understand, like, you know, how it can benefit me and how it can sort of create wealth. So so it was something I sort of explored. As I say, I came across Paul. I was doing a Facebook Live.
Oh, right,
every night.
Okay.
And you know, the information he shares is fantastic.
Yeah.
Learned so much just on though. I think it was 1 hour a night for 4 nights. Learned so much off of that, and then off the back of that, decided to sign up for Paul's protege course,
right,
and sort of never looked back since.
So that's where that came in. Brilliant stuff. And then through that, you're kind of picking up just like you've done, I suppose, with your whole apprenticeship thing, your uni days, etc. You're deliberately taking actions to get the information, to get the knowledge. I want to know how that works. I want to understand this part of the puzzle. So is that the kind of idea?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always sort of been an overthinker and very detailed. I don't know,
that's
maybe
engineering you, but
exactly,
isn't it?
That's maybe
You've got
why.
that brain.
Definitely. I mean, in school, I was always like the sort of physical, subjects, PE, art,
Right.
craft and design type of stuff.
Right.
But also liked maths and sort of physics and the sort of sciencey type ones. Was never as keen on sort of English and literacy and that type of thing. But maybe that was the sort of engineer type.
Aye, the way you're wired.
Person,
yeah, definitely.
So I think just for anything, I've always wanted to know how everything works, in detail. And
tear it apart.
I really, part of my career I was like a maintenance engineer where I would, machines that had broken down, I would strip them down, repair them, build them back up.
Yeah.
You get to see the inner workings of them. And as much as that was good for, that career, I think, speaking to sort of folk further ahead in the journey and speaking to property coaches and mentors, for me, sometimes that holds me back a little bit. I want to know everything about everything.
Right.
And someone said to me, you don't need to know how a car engine works to drive a car. You just go and drive it, and that's where I need to, I have been the past sort of year, have to take that step up to more, business owner, director.
Yes.
Being able to delegate tasks, having specialists,
Love
in
it.
certain areas and, outsource certain types of activities.
Have you found that a challenge?
I have found it a challenge, yeah, definitely. I do. I still have learned a lot of the subject areas, which I maybe never had to, but I'm now confident, that I can oversee things that I do outsource.
Aye.
And I know if the results are there or not type of thing. But I need to accept that I need to be able to, let others do some tasks, and it's not humanly possible to do everything. And
exactly.
I think there's a lot of business owners out there. I'm in one or two business groups, and there are business owners out there that are really bogged down in the business, and it's been able to take that step back, working on the business and not in the business, and being able to then sort of scale it up and then being able to sort of take a step back and I think for me the goal's to get my time back. I don't always want to sacrifice my time for money.
Right.
I want to be able to spend more time with my family. Doing the things
you got
I
another
like.
one on the go just now, on the way.
Yeah.
In fact, by the time this comes out, probably the wee girl will have made an appearance.
Possibly,
so this whole family's growing, isn't it?
Definitely,
and I suppose you're reminding yourself of those long drives, up and down and Midlands and everything else. You've been there.
Yeah.
And you don't want you want to kind of move on.
Yeah,
I like that.
Definitely. Yeah, baby girl due on Monday coming.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
Thanks, and I have a son already. So that's it. I want to spend time with them.
Yeah.
As you say, I used to spend a lot of time travelling, working away. It is lonely. I've always been quite a strong character, strong-minded, so I was fine. Sometimes I do like my own company as well. But I always kept myself busy. As I say, I would work long hours, go to the gym, but I was missing out on my son growing up. I didn't get to see him every single night. It was just more the weekends, and I've sort of done the hard yards. I don't want to go down that route again. Going forward.
That's not a forever plan.
Definitely, I want to be able to take my daughter to school and pick her up. I was always able to do that on a Friday with my son. But and he loves that. He always looked forward to a Friday when I was picking him up, and I still sort of do the same now. But I want to be able to spend more time with them. Provide a good lifestyle for them. I'm not like pretentious and my car, for example, I paid that off a few years back. I could be driving a nice new shiny car now, but it makes no financial sense at this point.
Liability.
Exactly. Exactly. As a liability, so I'd rather invest that in property or my own education, which is a long-term investment. So
that's class.
Yeah.
So in those kind of early days, you were being that investor, maybe call it a passive investor, whatever. You're picking and choosing. You've got the whole crowd platform, doing the stuff with London, etc. As you started to gain more and more knowledge and more information, where were you finding yourselves getting pulled? Because as we know, there's so much you can do in property.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities and angles and strategies and stuff. Where did you find your journey going at that point?
Yeah, so after I'd done Paul's course, they teach you about all the different strategies, and so me being the person I am, I wanted to do all of them, And I think sometimes I can be, I'm a realistic and reasonable person, but I do have ambition, and I do have high standards and high targets, and I was like, right, I could do, a bit of all of that. But initially I started sourcing property, so it is a good way to, get out there, get viewing a lot of properties, get talking to a lot of folk in the industry, from estate agents, letting agents, but also other folk that are in property, investors.
Exactly.
Other folks that are sourcing, other folks that are doing different types of property projects. So that's a real.
And was that initially for yourself, or you were, no, this is me at that point doing it for other people as well? Where was the balance there?
It was for investors initially.
It's for them, right? Brilliant, brilliant.
So initially I just wanted to sort of be able to tick that box. I was, I was capable of going out and, finding the properties, finding good investments. There's obviously good and bad types of investments, but it's all, obviously it's about doing a lot of the due diligence, doing a lot of the research, running all the numbers, ensuring you can get a good return for investors. So it started just by doing that. And I think the way to sort of do it is you should try and sign up investors and then source properties to meet their criteria. Right. But again, I just, always been a sort of contractor in the past. I would only undertake contracts that was my specialist area. Right. So I thought, right, I can't go out to an investor and say that, I can source my property if I've never done it. So I just went out and began sourcing. And the sort of first property I viewed off market. So it was all sort of off-market property. Sure. The way the market was anyway, houses were selling within a week type of thing. Right. But so it was all off-market. So I was doing my own sort of Facebook ads and putting out leaflets. Right. And the very first one that I viewed, I secured it. Oh, so,
no way. That's brilliant. There'll be folk watching this, like, what? It took me 15 goes.
Oh, yeah, I think, I've had a lot of ups and downs,
of course,
on the journey, of course. But that one, just, I felt comfortable, I felt confident, I'd had really good conversation with the seller, I could see a way to sort of help them.
Fantastic.
They tried to sell the house previously and had no success, so they reached out and, we were able to sell it.
That's great.
As well. So
and you still remember it? Because you always remember these firsts, don't you?
Oh, you always remember your first, It was a 2-bed sort of log cottage flat, north of Glasgow. Right. It was valued at 50,000 and I secured it for 40,000.
Brilliant.
So it was quite a good discount, quite a good return on investment, a good yield on it. Mm-hmm.
So is that what was happening with that one? You sourced it for someone and they were going to keep it?
Yeah, they added it to their portfolio. It was a buy-to-let, So I sort of very light refurb, required some new carpets and stuff, but it'd been sort of repainted and sort of wallpapered, so it was in okay condition. But so that was the first one, and from there I sort of realised, as possible, you see it on maybe social media, you hear the sort of the course trainers talking about it, and when it's not something you've been involved in, you think, right, how is it possible? So that for me showed me it's entirely possible. It's a very viable career and business model.
That's because that's it. It's funny, we're just chatting away here because this is a world we're so comfortable in, but I'm always conscious there's folks listening in, they're like, what do you mean these sources? Some people with investment, with money, they don't think that this can be done. They think, I've got to go and find it on Rightmove through an estate agent, and I need to save up and such. But that's not the way. That people like you are out there with the knowledge, with the skills, with the contacts, with the marketing plans, all this kind of stuff. You can actually source these amazing opportunities for the people who can't, or they don't have the time, or they don't have the skills, they don't have the information, how to structure it, how to negotiate it. You can deliver that service to them. And then, of course, you get paid for that, quite frankly, which is what your business is. A lot of folk don't even know that exists. Yeah. You mentioned things like off-market. What do you mean off-market? You can buy, people will sell privately. People will, this happens all the time. Yeah. And someone like you've built up that amazing business, and you do that, you give this value to customers. And it's funny that you've been on both sides, isn't it? Yeah, you were that investor. You were that guy, I've not got time for this, or I don't know what I'm doing with this, but I know how to quickly analyse the numbers, and I'll put my money in. But now you're totally flipped on the other side. You've got the skills and the action, and you actually do this for other people.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a whole world I never knew existed. You know, until you get involved and you know, you start networking with a lot of people. It's you know, it's a whole world that you all you know is what you see on TV, what you hear in the news.
That's right. I need to go to an auction, or I need to find it in Rightmove.
Yeah,
that's
definitely,
it. And I need to do it myself. You know, and I need to take all the risks and all that. Oh my God, I don't know how. No, there's people like you.
Absolutely, there's an easier way. Definitely, you know, like 90% of property transactions probably take place off market, i.e. not on Rightmove. Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of programs on TV like A Place in the Sun, and you know, the ones down south where it's folk finding, you know, the houses for millionaires and in Dubai and stuff as well now. Yeah. And you know, I never realised at the time, but they're just property sources. You know, they're just finding
pick a label.
For people that you know, they've not got the time or the knowledge or the understanding of the area. And I guess for them, that's more their residential homes they want to move into. But so yeah, like a sort of estate agent in that regard. But you know, again, you know, a lot of investors out there, they do you know, spend a lot of time, effort, and energy trying to find good investments when they can just you know, pay a property sourcer to find it for them.
Just go direct, agree on the criteria, all this kind of stuff. So, for example, the one you were talking about, the I love how that was your first. That's a hilarious one. What kind of rough yield would that end up being for that investor? Do you remember at all? Because I'm just conscious of folks listening.
So that one, the sort of rent on that was about $550 a month. That was almost 2 years ago now. So. Probably could be a little bit more now. So yeah, that one was sort of about 12% return. Amazing. You know, and found sort of better ones after that as well. You know, a recent one was valued at 55,000. It was just a 1-bed flat, and we secured it for just under 40,000. So that meant there was no sort of stamp duty or additional dwelling supplement in Scotland. So there's sort of saving there for the investor, and that was, you know, £15,000 equity in the property.
Straight away. Straight away. That's amazing. I love it. I need to keep that. I'm enjoying the chat with you, but I need to keep thinking about folks listening in. You know, the folks here listening, watching. You're an investor. You've got the money in your pocket, and you're thinking, "I've hit a gold here. This is amazing. I can hook in with someone like Paddy." Yes, you can. So whenever it's safe to do so, go into the show notes, and you'll see all the links to his websites and his social media stuff. Because have the chat with this man, because I know that. Sorry, what price did he say he got a property for? You know, be people in London and Kent that falling off, you know, their car seats while they're driving here. And they can't believe the properties that you can get. You know, whether it's the north of England or moving into Scotland, it's much cheaper, much easier. Yeah. And the yields are fantastic. Yeah. You know, so an investor listening in, 12%. What? They can't believe that when they think of the return in the banks these days. Yeah. You know. You spoke about how property is that thing. It's got that name about it, that feel-good security about it. You know, it's an actual thing that exists. Yeah. It's not some Bitcoin or something.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a physical product. It's something that's there. And it's been there for so long, isn't it? Yeah, it's always provide that return for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, folks that are down sort of London, South Coast, you know, obviously the property prices down there are sky high.
It's crazy.
You know, those sort of ones is more sort of long-term capital growth. You know, you might get 2, 3, 4, 5% return on investment. If it's a sort of buy-to-let, but you will benefit from capital growth over time, which does create wealth in the long term, of course. But a lot of folk are looking just for sort of cash flow where they can have an asset, a property that gives them that money every month. Exactly. You know, so not, as you say, north of England, Scotland, much better. So, you know, much higher returns on your investment. And, you know, for some folk, all they want to do is just replace their income, you know. So all it takes is for them to own a handful of properties, and it allows them to, you know, quit their job if that's what they want to do. They could then be more involved. They can add more to the portfolio. For some folk, you know, they want to go further. So yeah, no, it always has been a great investment. Personally, you know, I've invested in crypto as well.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
As you said, that is good to diversify and have a couple of different investments. But property is solid. You know, it's based on, you know, supply and demand primarily. Correct. You know, and you know, seen the demand has been crazy the past couple of years. But obviously Bitcoin, as you say, you know, someone can, you know, put out a tweet You know, it's very volatile, and you know the price drops.
It's crashing. It's through the roof. It's crashing.
Exactly.
Bonkers.
And you know, world events has an impact on stocks and shares and stuff as well. You know, so I've always sort of saved for my pension type of thing.
Right.
And, you know, I guess everyone looking right now will, you know, see they've sort of dipped a little bit. You know, the last over the past year, just with everything going on type of thing. So property as a solid investment, and there's a reason why so many people are doing it.
Correct. It speaks volumes, it does. And did you find a big advantage from being that investor in the past? You know, being that, because you then know how their minds work. You then know, right, okay, I should probably communicate with them this way, or I'll give them this update, or this explanation, or I'll present the property in this kind of fashion. Did you find that really helped you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, I now understand, having sort of done a lot of learning and have the experience now of speaking and dealing with investors over the past sort of 18 months. There are different types of investors, you know.
Of course.
You know, I mean, typically there's two types of clients I deal with, in terms of one that wants to build their own portfolio, and then one that maybe doesn't want to own a portfolio. They don't want the hassle of dealing, you know, with all the regulations that apply.
Right.
They just want to lend money for a return, you know. So
Just getting a better return than elsewhere, banks and stuff. Right, okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant.
And it could just be, you know, a house that you know, like a flip, where you would buy a property, renovate it and sell it, or, you know, a lot of folk have heard of a new build development, you know, where investors, you know, invest money, you know, you get to buy the land, you get the planning permission, you build a few new houses on it, you know, those types of projects. So I've not done any of those big projects yet. You know, that's something I'd like to do in the future.
You've got them your targets, have you?
Yeah, and I see so many folk, you know, within the group doing it, and you know, seeing what they've achieved, and it does inspire you to go on and do it yourself. But but the investors that are wanting, you know, the two types of investors, you know, each of them have got their own personalities, you know.
Yes.
And some folk, you know, they're quite risk averse. They'll analyse all the numbers in detail, you know, with a fine tooth comb, and you know, they'll never invest. You know, a lot of good deals have passed across them. So I'd sort of built up an investor list, but also built up a lot of investor clients that would pay me fees up front.
Right.
And then I knew they were serious. You know, I could then go and find properties. But the investor list is also, it's a good fallback, but not the preference for the way I prefer to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of them, you know, go through it with a fine tooth comb. Others, you know, they're trusting. You know, they've seen me on social media for the past 18 months. You know, as building up that know, like, and trust. You know, as it's
seen your project, seen some details. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. You know, a lot of them, it's ones I've built up a relationship with. You know, so they know me, they trust me, they like me, they know that I'm professional and I've got integrity, and they're happy. You know, and some of them, they might have purchased a property for themselves, but they're also then looking to do sort of joint ventures or become an equity partner as well.
Right, okay.
And some of the projects I come across, and you know, being a sourcer to begin with, you know, initially I came across so many good projects, good deals that I couldn't do anything with, you know, because I never had the funds to act on it. But so that's where I realised I need to also build up, you know, partnerships and joint ventures. So you know, I've got a few joint ventures lined up. You know, so I've got some investments in the pipeline. I've got a few properties in the pipeline, so I'm hoping to do, you know, combine both of them and do some good stuff with them. Yeah. But yeah, as some investors, you know, take tea more than others, and it's fine. You can't be everyone's cup of tea. But for me, I just always try and be consistent with my message. Always try and you know put yourself out there. It's not what you know or who you know. It's who knows you. You know, no one can do business with you if they don't know you. So you do need to try and be proactive and show folk that you know that you are experienced and knowledgeable. And it's a bit like a girlfriend, you know, you don't marry them on the first date, you get to know them. It's the same way we're working with investors.
Yeah, I love it. And folks who do want to kind of reach out to you and get in touch and stuff, so should they think about that just initially, right? What do I want to do? Do I want to build a portfolio? How do I feel about that? Being a landlord, being someone, owning something, keeping something? or no, that other person Paddy was talking about, that just getting a return. You know, I don't really care about the project. I don't want to keep the property. If I can just give him funds and then he'll give me a much better return than the banks and stuff. Is that the initial thing they should think of as they're approaching you and chatting with you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I offer a sort of free consultation call to anyone that reaches out to me, and I'll do a little presentation, and I'll just explain I'll explain both types, of opportunities for them, and I'll sort of explain the pros and cons of them, just so they're aware and they can, process that and absorb it. It can be a lot to take in if you're new.
Of course.
Pardon me, but I do say, it's either way, it's whatever suits them. I work with both types of clients, but me personally, I found that I preferred just being that more hands-off investor in the past, where I could just, hand over some money and, that money would make me money. I'd see a return on that, and I wouldn't have the stress or hassle of, dealing with everything that goes with owning property. But with that said, buy-to-lets are still a solid investment. If you build up a portfolio, it can provide you passive income. So yourself, you can wake up and your bills are paid. You can take a day off without having to ask permission from your boss. You can spend more time with your family or doing the things you love. Whether that's doing hobbies, or if you always had an interest, you can then pursue that, and that is the sort of beauty of property. There is so many different strategies that you can invest in and make money through to then create the life that you want. So it is. It's
an amazing vehicle, isn't it? And we were chatting before about your thinking and moving into the whole service accommodation world as well, and look at some sites down in England and so on. So that's attracted you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was something I sort of done some research on it sort of the past year, and I was looking to just sort of source my own ones. I took a little bit of a break from sourcing because I seen areas where I wanted to improve myself. So I've done 2 marketing courses and a raising finance course, and one other I re-attended Paul's protege course as well. So it was a lot more sort of teaching about serviced accommodation on that, and I always knew it was a good strategy, but it's a slightly more complex in terms of more moving parts, but still totally achievable. So I almost picked up a couple in Edinburgh, just sort of around about October, end of September, beginning of October, but the new licensing laws kicked in October. So I sort of held off on that, and again, I'm always wanting to adapt. The market, change is constant, isn't it? So you always need to adapt. So I thought, right, okay, the north of England, it's not far from us here in Glasgow.
Especially you driving down to the Midlands all these times in the past.
I've worked in there. I've drove so many times, exactly. So I know some of those areas as well. I'm comfortable investing in those areas.
Right.
So serviced accommodation, most folk have heard of Airbnb, most folk have probably stayed in one. You actually see it advertised now on TV.
I know.
It's a really good strategy in terms of you can, much higher returns than a buy-to-let. If you can own a property and rent it out per the night, you can see higher returns than just a long-term tenant. So as a strategy I've always wanted to do. So hopefully picking up the keys to one this week or next week.
Magic.
Just south of the border. I won't reveal location just yet.
Let's not grow it.
But I'm looking to pick up a few in the next sort of couple of months.
Right.
And I'm also looking to start sourcing more of them.
Right.
I have had a lot of investors that have inquired about that type of investment.
And it's quite a hot topic just now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
People can really see the cash flow that you're talking about when they come, wait a minute, my buy-to-let's only this per month, and if I go at the exact same property with a service accommodation strategy, all of a sudden it's completely different.
Absolutely. It can get you much higher returns, and I think for a lot of investors, it's another opportunity and option for them. That they can, some of them maybe a little bit too cautious. They don't want to take one on themselves.
Right.
So that's what I also offer an option where they can take on one with me. Where I can
fantastic.
manage it, and I can find the property, I can analyse it. Obviously I would only handpick the best at type of investments, and that's where I could take it on. I could manage it and still give them a return on investment, so they can be an equity partner.
Take all the hassle away from them, all the grief, because they've not got time for that.
Absolutely,
that's where you come in.
They could, again, they have two options. They can either just sit back and see the money coming in every month, or they can learn about it as well. I would teach them as we go,
you're quite okay with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Try to help people learn and stuff.
Yeah, I've always had a passion for helping other people.
Yeah.
I think maybe come on to it, but in long term I would like to be a business coach and mentor and help
no
people
way. Right, okay.
as well, yeah. I mean, even previously in engineering, I was always happy to share my knowledge, to younger engineers or, less experienced. And I've always had that sort of thirst for knowledge, and I like to be the go-to guy, that everyone comes to for help. And one day I'd like to be that person.
Brilliant, right? So that was where I was wanting to take you next. The future, because you've got the business growing up, you've got the family expanding, you've got these targets and areas you really want to specialise in. So you've got that as well. Any kind of other plans or goals? Have you set yourself any timelines, or are you still get that same mentality you were speaking about at the start, where it's one step forward at a time, and then I'm going to go left here, and then another step, I'm going to go right here? How do you view the future?
I think in property you can. It's a lot easier to clarify your vision long term, and as opposed to work industry. It's difficult to see yourself becoming the manager, the director type of thing. Whereas in property, there's so much opportunity and so many avenues to go down and so many strategies that you can, pick a path and you can get that clarity. I've done some goal setting exercises, looking at the next 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5, 10. And that was something I was familiar with in engineering previously anyway, always having a plan and always committing to continual professional development type of thing. So I think for me, I've got a date set in the calendar. Within the next 12 months, I want to be full time in property. Because
that's the amazing thing. I've not even really properly covered that. Yep. You're still doing your engineering. You're still doing it to this day, and you're managing to be this business owner, service provider, helping all these investors. So people, if they have the work ethic and the kind of focus like you, people can do that, can't they? They don't have to be full-time. They could be part-time. They could be the passive people who are, investing in you. There's all these choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think the beauty of it is you can do whatever you want. You can have as much involvement or not. So, you do you. So, I think, for me, I was asked to sort of take on additional work in engineering, and my preference was not to do it because I wanted to focus on property, but I need to learn to say no more.
It's always a challenge.
Definitely. So, I said I would help the client out, which was fine, but it then meant, I was at a lot more meetings and a lot more of my time was sort of taken up, which did cause me to sort of take a little bit of a step back from sourcing, temporarily, but it did allow me to then, do some of the sort of marketing courses, which I've then seen had seen better results since.
So some more skills for your business that then helps more people. It continually feeds itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I was sort of paying marketing agencies to sort of do ads and stuff anyway, so I still had, leads coming in. Realised that it's probably better to learn maybe Facebook ads yourself instead of using agencies, unless they specifically have the knowledge of property and off-market property.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so I was still doing my 9 to 5, and at night time is when I would be going out to networking events, being on webinars, reading books, listening to podcasts, just taking action, phoning leads, phoning investors, having video calls with investors.
Brilliant.
So and again for me, always having went to sort of college and then uni, I was always that was always part-time for me as well. So I always had my 9 to 5, and then I was doing that on top. So I've always, I had a few years where I wasn't in education, but I was always at night time, instead of sitting watching Netflix or whatever, I would be maybe studying for exams or doing coursework. So I still kind of see business and property the same in terms of I know it needs done. It's what I want to do. I've got goals and targets I want to achieve. So I've got deadlines. You know, as you say, you set your deadlines. So yeah, so I spend a good few hours every night, and at weekends just building that up. And I think a lot of folk do focus on, I need the perfect logo, I need the perfect name, I need the perfect brand, and I fell victim of that stuff too. And it does just hold you back. You need to just take action and go for it. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and it has held me back in the past. But now, again, a business coach said to me, be prolific, not perfect. You need to just take action and go for it. So yeah, it's just about making sure you spend time on the right type of tasks. And again, I was always okay with planning and productivity from my sort of previous background, but it's more difficult when you're managing yourself, and that's what it is. You just need to be disciplined. It's a bit like sort of going to the gym, or I used to go jogging, and there's days where you don't want to go, but you need to be disciplined to just go anyway, and that's when you see the results. And business is the exact same. If you want something, you do need to put the effort in. So it is entirely possible doing it on top of a full-time job, and it won't be like that for me forever. It's just a transition, and to a point where I can then just go full-time in property, and I know from then I will scale it up, because I have spent a lot of time. I'm in a business group. Spent a lot of time learning about business, how businesses operate, what you need to implement. A lot about marketing and acquiring customers, and being able to scale the business so that you can. I mean, eventually, as I say, I do want to be a business owner. I want to be able to take a step back, and the business runs itself. I'd still be involved, but it's where I can then spend more of my time with family and doing the things I enjoy doing.
Fantastic, my man. Listen, I want to be respectful of your time, but there's a few wee kind of quick ones I want to throw past you then. So this roller coaster that we love so much, the ups and the downs, what jumps into your head if I say the most kind of satisfying project or client or whatever, and maybe one of your more challenging moments? What pops into your head with those two?
The most satisfying ones, I guess, has just been deal sourcing. So when I maybe sign up an investor, and for that I've made a commitment to them to provide them a service. So when I can then go and find them a good investment, then they can then purchase it. It makes me happy. I've delivered. Again, it strengthens that relationship. I do have sort of returning clients as well. And then the challenges is, that one is having that discipline, and I did probably. I do want to do too many things, and I took on too much, and you do get overwhelmed a little bit. But you do need to just take a step back, and be realistic. But I guess some of the challenges as well is, I genuinely do like helping people. So when I'm out viewing properties that people are looking to sell, there's a reason they want to sell the house. So all different circumstances, different reasons. But I genuinely want to help them as well, as a business for me, of course, but I still want to help them, so there's been some, one client, they were facing repossession, and I managed to sort of, agree a sale with them and secure an investor to purchase it, and unfortunately the house got repossessed before they could sell, and I went over to help out. They were stood with just their personal belongings, and it was really difficult to see. And at that point in time, I thought, I need to find these people sooner. I need to be able to help these people. I was going to say that if only they had reached out to you earlier. Yeah, that's it. The difference that could have been. And that's one of the difficulties, is there doesn't seem to be enough help. For folk, and the way the world is right now. We're sort of heading into a recession, the cost of living crisis, and there is a lot of folks that's going to be in that position, and they don't know that there's help out there where they can get more help. A lot of folk, they think their only solution is to allow their house to be repossessed. That's right. And that's getting negative impact in terms of their mental health and credit rating, credit score, that type of thing. And there is knock-on effects down the line. But I think there should just be more visibility and more awareness that there is that there's other options for them. That they can maybe just sell their property instead of allowing that process to happen.
Yeah.
Means they can walk away a big weight off their shoulders. They can still then maybe get a smaller, more affordable mortgage in the future. They'll still sort of have their credit rating intact. So that's it's been a challenge seeing those type of sellers. That's the and again, when that sort of fell through, it was hard to see, And,
definitely.
But again, you take the good with the bad, and it's having that mindset, to accept that there's going to be difficulties, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be a lot of, hurdles to overcome.
Yeah. And
sometimes, you do get knocked down a little bit, you do get knocked back, but you do need to just, take a step back, okay, maybe dwell on it for a couple of days, whatever, but then just brush it off.
Shake it off.
And just, you want to learn, so use it as a learning experience.
Go and help somebody else.
Exactly.
On to the next person.
Exactly, that's it.
Aye, I love it.
You just move forward and just keep going. So
yeah. Now, we spoke about your future and your plans and stuff. Future of the market. Where do you see things going? 2023, for example. What do you think? That crystal ball time, everybody's trying to guess everything.
So when I sort of first started sourcing, there was a lot of demand in the market. It was a sort of perfect storm where it was like flooded with buyers and not enough stock and not enough houses for sale, which obviously put prices up. Sort of primarily supply and demand. House prices were going up. There was folk having to bid, way over. To buy a property. But obviously we've sort of been spoiled with low interest rates for years now. And obviously a lot of the past sort of 9 months, the interest rates have been going up. So, the media do sort of put that fear factor on folk. I don't watch the news, sort of doom and gloom mostly. But so a lot of buyers have pulled out recently, a lot of first-time buyers, where they're now looking at the affordability of a mortgage. So that has created some opportunity for investors. Again, it doesn't really matter what the interest rate is. I'll analyse the numbers. I'll understand if it's a good investment or not, taking that into consideration. So there's still a lot of, good opportunities and good investments and still, good properties out there. So I think it will. We're sort of the market has slowed down a little bit. The whole of the UK, it's always generalised on the media, but there are local economies. And I think that house prices they're starting to stagnate a little bit. But they might sort of fall slightly over the next year or so. But again, it's a cycle. It's like investments. There's peaks and troughs, but the long term, most properties are still going up in value.
Yeah, because it's that supply and demand thing you speak about. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I think it is different this time round compared to a lot of folk talk about the last sort of global financial crisis and the property market crash. Yeah. There's a lot of different things going on there in terms of a lot of lending that was happening. Whereas now there's a lot more things in place to prevent something like that happening again. There was a lot of building property back then, whereas now they haven't been building as much property, so there still is that supply and demand. So I still think that it won't be anything like the last one, in my opinion. It's so just difficult to predict. A correction rather than a crash, that kind of thing?
I
think so, I think so. It's difficult to predict, but I think the whole COVID and lockdown and, a lot of folk, they still had money, but they couldn't go on holiday, so they were maybe building a man cave in the garden or an extension onto the house, So folks were still spending a lot of money. Obviously, interest rates are being up to try and stop folks spending to curb inflation. And it's can't really see it's working so far. So there might still be a couple of interest rate rises, but again, you just need to adapt. There's different strategies and different market conditions, and it's always just making sure that you're doing the right strategy in the right market. And there's still, there's always opportunity. There's, I think, when a recession, there is of course folks that are unfortunate that maybe lose money, but there's also folks that, they're close to what's going on, and they make the right investments, and they still see a lot of success.
Yeah. And those investors then, just the last wee check-in with you, if they're looking to get in touch with someone like you've got that experience, contacts, marketing, everything, quite a straightforward process, just reach out, get in touch, and you'll have a conversation. Will it maybe be online if they're too distant, etc.? You can do that for them as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, online, I'm on Facebook, as Paddy McKay, and Instagram is Paddy McKay, and I've got my Sunday name on LinkedIn, Patrick McKay.
Brilliant.
But yeah, folks can reach out to me on social media, send me a message. We can arrange a free consultation.
Fantastic.
We can discuss what it is they want to achieve and how I can best help them. And there is different options. Most folk think all they can do is buy a property and rent it out, but there are different strategies,
and you can chat through those with them,
and I can explain that to them.
Brilliant.
I mean, anyone local, happy to meet for a coffee, have a discussion. I go to a lot of networking events as well, so bump into folks there.
Excellent.
Your network is your net worth.
Correct.
So it's always good to get out there and meet folks, and so happy for anyone to reach out.
That's brilliant. There you go. Told you. You can reach in with the man and see if he can help you. He's obviously got all that knowledge, all that resources, contacts, marketing, everything's available. You might be that very person he's talking about. That investor. Property's good, but you just don't know where to start. That's your guy. That's your sourcer who can have a chat with you, see if you're a good fit, and see if he can help you. Brilliant. Listen, Paddy, for your time today, for This Week in Property, thanks a million.
Yeah, thank you. Been good to be here. Thank you.
Great. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I did. Remember, with the guests that you just saw, go into the show notes for the page, because all of their links are there so that you can get in touch and to get more information. And talking about getting more information, more guests, more insights, more knowledge, etc., make sure you're subscribed. Get the subscription done, get the notifications on, and then we'll always keep in touch with you every single time a brand new show is going to come out. So thanks for tuning to This Week in Property.